They say some stories should never be told, but here we are, telling this one anyway.
So this one is from my own house. From the balcony of my bedroom, I saw it every night, that old house, just sitting there. Watching. They say it's cursed, empty for years, but something lingers inside. People claim the red stains on the walls aren't paint marks, and anyone who gets too close, they disappear. They even advise looking against it. But I couldn't help it. Every night, I found myself staring at the house, and then, one night I saw it. A light, flickering, inside that house. Told myself it was just my imagination, but deep down, I knew it wasn't. That night, I double-checked every lock in my house. I tried to sleep, but sleep wouldn't come. Then I heard it. A creak in the hallway. I reached for my phone, but the battery was dead. And I swear to you, I wasn't alone. I turned the corner. That's when I saw it. A dark woman-like figure standing there, perfectly still, right in front of my window, its head tilted. Just a little, like she was listening. She disappeared just as soon as I turned my flashlight toward her. I leaned toward my window, and that's when I saw them. Shadows, dozens of them, leaving the old rotten house and coming toward mine. I slammed the door, locked everything, pulled the curtains, but it didn't matter. The air turned freezing, and then the whispers started. I don't know how long I stood there, frozen, but when morning came, the shadows were gone. But the whispers, they never left. I still hear them sometimes.
I don't know how you sleep at night. That house is messed up.
Yeah, well, some places, they just have that presence. But it's not just houses. A friend of mine, big into hiking, had an experience that still haunts him. He never liked talking about it, mostly because he isn't sure what really happened that day.
Let's hear it.
So he was into exploring remote trails. The kind of guy who enjoys being completely off the grid.
Oh great, another this shouldn't have happened, but it did story.
Yeah, except this one. This one made him quit solo hiking for good. So, he was on this isolated trail, one barely known even to locals. Dense forest, barely any sunlight filtering through the trees. The kind of place where even the birds go silent.
Wait, no birds.
Not a single sound, just dead silence. Halfway through the hike, he found this weird old signpost. Faded paint, letters barely readable. It pointed toward an overground path with 2 words carved into it. Willow Hollow.
Oh sure, nothing ominous about that.
He hesitated, but curiosity got the best of him. The path was nearly invisible, choked with weeds, fallen branches, like no one had walked it in years. But eventually, he reached a clearing. In the center of it was a bridge. Old wooden bridge, barely standing. And standing at the other end of the bridge was her, an old woman, hunched over, clutching a walking stick. Her clothes were dark, tattered.
Please tell me she didn't move.
She didn't. But she was waiting, he called out. But no response. She just stood there. Something about the scene felt wrong. Then, after what felt like forever, she lifted a single hand and pointed.
At him?
No, not at him, but behind him. He turned around, expecting to see someone or something standing there, but the path was empty. When he looked back at the bridge, the woman was gone. That was enough for him. He turned to leave, but as he stepped onto the bridge, his foot slipped. He caught himself just in time, but when he looked down, there were letters carved into the wood beneath his feet. One word, leave.
And then he left, right?
He ran, didn't stop until he reached the main trail, didn't even look back.
Good, end of story. The guy escaped. Lesson learned, happy ending.
Not quite, because when he got back to the start of the trail, he glanced back one last time, and the signpost was gone, as if it had never been there.
I swear if I ever see a random signpost pointing to some creepy sounding place, I'm burning it.
Might not help. It always finds its way back.
After hearing the eerie tales from Willow Hollow, you'd think that the haunted forest was the only place where the supernatural lurked. But what if the unknown isn't confined to the woods? What if it hides in the very place you call home?
You mean, the next story is about a ghost in the house?
Exactly, but is not exactly in the house. Let me share a story about Emily and Michael, a newlywed couple who thought they'd found their happily ever after, only to discover that sometimes the true horror isn't outside. It's inside. It all started when Emily and Michael moved into their cozy little house. Newlyweds and full of hope. Their early days were filled with laughter, cooking together, and decorating every corner with love.
Sounds like a dream come true until something unexpected happens.
Right. One day, Emily gifted Michael a sleek black tie, hoping to see him wear it to work. Michael just smiled and said, "I've never been comfortable wearing ties." She laughed, brushing it off as a harmless quirk. But as the weeks passed, Emily started noticing something off about their home. It began with small oddities, a faint scent of Michael's cologne lingering in the air, even when he wasn't home.
A scent? That's hardly unusual unless it's stronger than it should be.
Exactly. Soon, the smell became overpowering in their bedroom, as if someone was standing right beside her. And then, one day, while Emily was cooking dinner, her phone buzzed. A message from Michael's number read, "Don't trust him."
What? That must have sent her into a panic.
Indeed. Emily immediately called Michael, but there was no answer. Moments later, he returned with a casual smile, as if nothing was amiss. When she showed him her phone, the message was not there, as if it disappeared from her phone altogether. She checked Michael's phone, but there was nothing. Michael insisted that he didn't send anything.
So, something was wrong. Something that wasn't just a technical glitch.
Absolutely. As days went by, Michael's behavior began to shift in small, inexplicable ways. One evening at the dining table, he asked, "How do you take your coffee?" Emily froze, a question so out of character. Michael had always known she drank it black with no sugar. It wasn't just forgetfulness, it was as if he was different. Then, one night, she found his wedding ring on her nightstand. She could have sworn she saw him wearing it at dinner just minutes earlier. "Michael," she called out, her voice trembling. He appeared in the doorway. Without saying a word, he walked over, picked up the ring, and slid it back onto his finger.
That's unnerving. It sounds like she was living with someone else.
And it gets worse. One morning, Michael emerged dressed in a crisp white shirt and wearing the very tie Emily had given him. "You're wearing it?" she asked, astonished because he'd always hated ties. He smiled, adjusted the knot, and said, "I have always liked ties."
But that wasn't true, was it? He'd always said otherwise.
Exactly. Emily's instincts screamed that something was terribly wrong. She decided to investigate further. The scent of Michael's perfume, the strange text, his shifting personality, it all pointed to something she couldn't explain. That evening, while Michael was out, she searched the attic and uncovered a box of old photos. In them, Michael was always without a tie. Only his current self, now so different, wore one.
So, who is he now? And what did they do to him?
Desperate for answers, Emily confronted him later that night. "Who are you?" she demanded, trembling. Michael looked at her, amusement flickering across his eyes, before they turned cold. "What are you talking about?" he replied. "You're different and not my husband," she insisted, her voice cracking. "What did you do to him?" He only replied softly, "Emily, what is it? You're tired. You're imagining things." But she wasn't. In a final desperate attempt, she recounted a memory from their honeymoon. Day of laughter on a tandem bike ride. But Michael's version of the event was disturbingly different. "That's not how it happened," he said casually. We didn't fall. I steered us perfectly to the side of the road. That memory, it was supposed to be perfect. No, we didn't. We crashed into a bush, she whispered, horrified. Emily was left in shock that night, and from then on she lived in quiet terror. Deep down, she knew the truth. She wasn't living with her husband anymore. Something else had taken his place. Night in her dreams, she saw her husband, Michael. He came closer and whispered, I didn't leave. I was taken.
This is so disturbing. Emily's story tells us that sometimes the ones we love can vanish right before our eyes, replaced by something unrecognizable. A stranger in the guise of the familiar. It's a horrifying reminder that not everything in our home is as it seems.
Makes you wonder, what if the person you think you know isn't really who they appear to be? In the quiet of our homes, even the smallest change can hide a world of secrets. So, next time you hear an unexplained whisper or see something slightly off, remember Emily's tale. Sometimes the truth is far more unsettling.
Wait, did you hear that?
Don't turn around.